Now we're at a really exciting part of the journey. You found someone and you're ready to work with them and you want to make money. What I found a lot of times is a problem is people sit around and they talk and they say, hey, we're going to do a business. We're going to do a business. We're going to make this happen. It's really important that as soon as you guys are locked in, give yourself 7 days to get to $1,000 bucks. I think that's pretty reasonable. It's totally possible for two guys to pull down $1,000 bucks working part-time on this by going onto a bunch of different platforms where they can do hourly labor.
You should be able to book, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. Like, those should be pretty easy to do. They're pretty common moving days and a half of a Friday.
I mean, I think a big thing is we do a lot of labor-only moves on localmovers.com, but we really specialize in those bigger full-service moves. So there are dedicated websites out there for labor only, and pretty much a lot of the labor websites, even if they don't specialize in moving, have moving jobs available. So movinghelp.com, which is owned by U-Haul, Thumbtack.com, TaskRabbit.com, Dolly.com. Of course, looking on Craigslist or even putting up a Craigslist ad is great. And good old-fashioned flyers are another way. We also talked last time about doing door-to-door knocking, and this is a great time to start. So it's really just a matter of setting out how you're going to use your time in the week to get up on these sites and start getting these jobs. If you can actually hit that $1,000 benchmark by the end of the week. If you don't hit it and it takes you 2 weeks, that's fine. That's totally reasonable. But we know that it's possible to set these kind of aggressive goals. And if you want to get to that $100,000 benchmark within year one, then it's really important that you start getting momentum right out of the gate. So I guess on top of the online platforms, I know that you in your prior business experience have done a lot of different sales and business development type stuff. What other places would you recommend that guys who are looking to pick up additional labor look for in their communities?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the greatest assets you can do is partner with other people and start to build your network and start networking. So realtors are great. I think we mentioned it earlier. Going out with postcards, so looking at like Zillow, Redfin, any houses that are selling in your area, getting a postcard, dropping it off there, or just mailing those out and watching those kind of daily. Start building those muscle mechanics. Now, it might not be that you get a move immediately from that. You're probably going to see it from these kind of gig type apps. It's also critical to do the whole process. I know you mentioned, we talked about it earlier, but can you speak a little bit more to how you think about the review process at this early stage and getting these 5-star reviews?
Yeah, so the reviews are super important. And it's not just about the reviews on those platforms. Of course, if you have no reviews on those platforms, it's going to be harder for you to get those first jobs. So it's really important to ask family or friends, maybe, if you're willing to do it, have them hire you through the platform and then go help them with something around their house or whatever is reasonable. Have them leave you that 5-star review. You got to get the ball rolling somehow or another. Those reviews on the platform, once you get them going, will help you get more and more customers. So it's really critical that you start building your public reputation from the very beginning.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's really important to be on social as well. When you finish a move, take a picture of it. You want to put that up on your social. Maybe you're showing a house where you've done kind of interesting rigging or just interesting stuff. Getting that information out there, especially on video, goes really well. And you want to be on kind of all these social platforms. What that's going to do is help build kind of trust in your brand, and people are going to see you moving, because anybody that's going to hire you is going to go look, okay, who are these people? What are they doing? They have a website. Have they done moves before? So especially when you get going, you want to be putting those moves. If you go and you stage somebody's whole house, ask the owner, hey, can we get a couple photos? They usually, most of the time, they don't really care. And so you can take photos of maybe some packing that you did, just showing how you do it, the process, maybe do a quick video. All that stuff's going to help build social proof and also build trust in any new customer that you're working with, because they're going to be able to go and look at the work that you're doing. Go to localmovers.com. We've got assets. We've got guides on how to take the right photo. Or just look at the big successful moving companies. What are they photographing? They have full marketing teams. What are they doing? It's very easy to reproduce these shots when you go to the site and build trust and social proof for your business. One thing I wanted to go back to and ask, though, is like, say I'm on this platform, I'm on Dolly or whatnot. What should I do to get the first job? And how should these young founders figure out how to get that first moving job?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as we discussed when we were thinking about this, the reality is in order to win these first jobs, when you don't have reviews, you're going to have to compete on cost. You should look at what the market rate is for the other movers on these other sites and price yourself about 20% below them, below the average. Or if you're seeing other people competing at a bottom rate, at least go for that bottom rate or even undercut them to get those first jobs off the bat. once you get a few reviews and you build a little bit of trust, it's going to take you a long way.
If you don't get anything in like a month with a channel, it's just like, okay, this is apparently it's not working for me. Maybe I'm not doing something. You can ask your mentor. You can reach out to us, localmovers.com. We'll give you some feedback. But really, you're in the arena. You're figuring it out, and you're going to be the expert very, very soon at how to work in your market and how to make this business go. So you just want to get, track it with a spreadsheet, keep it really light and simple, and just where's the deal flow coming, and then continue to double down and invest in those platforms with reviews and things like that.
Yeah, another thing that I've seen that's worked well for me in the past is a lot of platforms will let you put up a bunch of different gigs with slightly different titles. Now, of course, like moving is a very generic term and you
Yeah.
want to be up on that, but also you can do stuff like decluttering services, you can do stuff like home organization, you can do stuff like unpacking help because as we said before, a lot of people don't have professional unpacking because the rate of the movers is way too high for them to afford it. But if you come in at a lower rate, you can start doing some other ancillary services around the move. So get creative and think about what kind of services you can compete on and what you can offer that other people aren't. And some platforms will even let you see how many people view your different gigs as well as how many people click on it. So at the end of the day, if you're able to keep track of that, whether it's on a piece of paper or if you're comfortable doing it in a spreadsheet, set up a free Google Sheet. It's a pretty easy way.
Basically, what you need to establish early on with these platforms is what is the right rate. Pick a low rate at the beginning to kind of get on these platforms and get a few reviews. Once you get like 3, 4, 5 stars, or 5-star reviews, like 3 or 4 of them, you need to bring your rate up. It's just critical because when you're dealing with people that want to get the lowest, they tend to be the ones that complain the most, and it just is like a huge pain. When you're in a kind of lower rate, you're going to be able to book out and you're going to fill out all your time, and especially if you're doing that across 5 different platforms, you're going to have a lot of leads, and your funnel is going to be pretty full. And so you need to kind of scale your hourly rate or what you're charging with like how much flow you have, and then kind of get that up to a middle marketplace and just keep those leads coming in. I cannot stress enough that it's all about top of funnel. Nothing really matters. Just how wide you can get that, how many leads like interested people that you can get into that top of funnel, because it's only going to get smaller. And that's really going to be the basis of your business. So I think just knowing, you'll be able to tell pretty quickly whether the person that you're working for is, going to be easy to work with or not. And
Yeah.
and so just if it's already really contentious at the beginning and they're trying to, shake you down for every dollar, it's like, okay, maybe this isn't worth it. And you have to figure that out. You have to fire some customers. And so that's probably a good first question for you in the first $1,000 that you're making is, can you identify which customers you're going to fire?
Yeah.
Because as you scale your enterprise, you have to know who you're going to work for and who you're not going to work for.
I think something that's really important, going back to those like Craigslist car flipping experiences from the conversations we've had in the past, you absolutely must call the customer in advance for a bunch of different reasons. But you want to talk to the customer and get a feel for who they are. On a platform, they might have a profile photo. You might be able to see a little bit more, so you have a little more security and trust. You should still call them. But if you're getting a customer off Craigslist, or let's say you nail up a bunch of flyers around town and someone calls you on your phone, you want to have a thorough conversation with them and you want to have a list of questions to ask them about their move. And that'll give you a sense about how prepared they are, how organized they are, and what their expectations are. I think it's really important to get aligned around that. One other thing I want to mention, which is your price is not the same in every marketplace. Do not lock into one rate. And I don't want to overcomplicate things for you from the start. And we're happy to help you at localmovers.com to get going. But if it were me, I'd keep a little spreadsheet. I put down each place where I got the leads from. I put down what my hourly rate was, how many hours the job was, and how much money I made on it. And then I would keep track of that so I'd know, okay, yeah, I get a lot of leads from Craigslist, but they want me to work for them for each guy for 20 bucks an hour. But when I go around and knock doors, I'm getting 60 bucks an hour. So I got to get 3 times as many jobs off of Craigslist as I do my knocking doors. And that lets you compare where's your time going.
Yeah.
Because the scarcest resource you got as a founder in business
Yeah.
is your time.
I think the one KPI that I would add is just the time to pick up the phone. Like once a customer calls, you should always be answering your phone, right? If your personal phone is your business phone, you need to always answer it. And 1 or 2 rings, whatever. What you don't want to do is get a call,
With
call
your
the per-
business name. You
with
gotta
your
answer it
with your business name. So redo your voicemail to whatever your business is, if that's your primary thing, or if you want to get a separate business phone.
I get used to saying, hello, this is Bretton, local movers. How can I help you?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to switch over your kind of personal line, if that's what it's going to be, to a professional line. Of course, if it's your friend calling, they're going to know. But you want to be able to answer those calls. And because when somebody's looking for a move, they're literally just on Google looking stuff up. When they call you, like You need to close. Like, you need to talk to them. You need to make a good connection, a good impression. If you call them like an hour later, they're probably already found a mover, especially if it's like days later, you're going to lose that. So you want to, like, when you're answering the phone, don't be like slouched over eating Doritos on your couch or something crazy. Like, stand up, like stand up straight, like maybe clear your throat before you say, if you're just sleeping or whatever, and then answer the phone with confidence and, a little bit of excitement about the opportunity you have in front of you.
Yeah, and one more thing about that, if you're the first one to pick up their call, you can price a lot better. Because if you're the third guy they talk to, they might have already been price anchored. And then the only way you're going to get the job is by coming in lower. So your phone's got to be ringing and you should be picking it up on like the third ring. That's it.
Yeah, totally. I think, yeah, picking up the phone and, being able to do the move when they want it, being flexible around them, especially if you don't have other moves set up or booked. The other thing is if you are booked out, so it's like a question of like, how would you deal with that? So say, okay, like I've got my 5 moves booked out for the weekend. I've got my full-time job. I've already got the $1,000. This guy wants to move on, Wednesday night or whatever. Or maybe
Yep.
not Wednesday night. He wants to move on Saturday in prime time.
Yep.
What do I do? Like, how do I deal with now I've got too many moves? How would you handle that?
I think that's a really great question. And it's a tough one because we're getting started. We want to make money, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
want
for
to make
sure.
money. Someone calls, they say, hey, I'm willing to pay you money. And it's so painful to say, no, I don't want to take your money. But if you don't have another guy and you can't cover it and you can't do a good job and you can't guarantee that 5-star
Yeah,
review,
yeah.
you have got to have the discipline to say no, I think.
Yeah, no, I think totally right. Really, what's more important than making the first $1,000 is really building that trust with the customer and getting this social proof from the other customers that you've worked with. And so you don't want to fumble that. You don't want to have somebody do a bad job and you got a 1-star. And like, you really, like, you can dig yourself out of that, but it's going to be a lot more work than getting your first 55 stars and using that.
I mean, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'd say that the main things are you're trying to get stars, you're trying to get jobs, you're trying to set that floor, and there are a bunch of tools we discussed.
What do
But
you think the top 3 things you would take away from this session that people should know
Yeah. Well,
leaving?
number one, to go back to the beginning, you got to be on as many platforms as possible. Number two, you got to get these 5-star reviews. It's absolutely critical. And the great thing about having multiple platforms is if you get canned on one platform, just delete your account, shut it down. It's fine. You can spin up another account. If in your first week you have a horrible first week, don't be a fool. You did things really bad. You got bad reviews on a bunch of different platforms. Change the name of the brand, delete those accounts, put a new one up. You really got to get a clean slate. But once you start building that brand equity and you got 5-star reviews here, 5-star reviews there, you have to be militant and diligent about getting more and more of those 5-star reviews. You can get a 4-star review here and there, but you cannot get 2, 3, 2, 1-star reviews. And then I'd say the thing that you said about answering the phone right away
Yep.
would be one of the top 3 absolutely essential things to be good in this business and get the ball rolling. So if you like what we had to say about getting started and you want to learn about professionalizing your business more, tune in next week for our next episode that will be released then. And let's get moving.